I urge every American to join in this effort to bring justice and hope to all our people.
We rejoice as this barrier falls, proclaiming together, we will not accept, we will not excuse, we will not tolerate discrimination in America.
We will make sure that our daughters have the same rights, the same chances, and the same freedoms to pursue their dreams as our sons.
Discrimination is basically putting someone in a specific category.
Is when a person is held back due to characteristics that they themselves cannot control.
To treat somebody differently based on race, gender.
When one group is belittling another group, whether it's their race, their sex, their ethnicity.
Basically when you alienate somebody for being different.
I was walking home by myself and I dropped my books on the floor, and these two kids were walking by and they had to have been like 9th or 10th graders, and they called me a stupid spick.
It was the first time I moved to Long Island, and it was a very white neighborhood, and I was just sitting there and people thought I was a left back senior, just sitting there because I just looked older than all of them just because I had some facial hair. And so that was like, really? And so they treated me a little different for like the first few weeks because they didn't want to get to know me because they thought I was just another Hispanic kid.
In high school, I was writing for the newspaper, and my teacher told me that I couldn't write in the sports section because I would only be able to talk about the women's sports. I couldn't talk about the men's sports. And it was crazy because of course the men's sports were more, everyone wanted to read that section, so of course I wanted to write about it. And it was upsetting because it was my teacher who was telling me that I can't do this because I'm a girl, and she made me seem like I was a less qualified writer because of my gender.
As far as skin color, just nicknames, mostly spick, things like that. And as far as my sexual identity, I am a cross-dresser. And my high school, at one point, I asked them if I could cross-dress. And they said no. So I did it anyways, but they made me change back into my normal clothes.
My whole life I've been the fat guy, I've been the heavy kid, and it's affected me. Going through school, that's not easy. You gotta deal with getting picked like last for sports, or getting talked about, whether it be behind your back or to your face. It's pretty bad both ways. One example that sticks out in mind is I went to a diner with my friend Tim from back home, and Tim's a relatively skinny kid, and we'd eaten our meal, and the waitress came over and she looked at him and he was like, "Can I refill your drink?" And he was like, "No." And then she looked like right at me and just went like really condescending. She went, "Do you want ice cream?" And I was shocked.
I've been discriminated against in my life, and I understand that it hurts.
I felt upset, and at that point I think that was one of my first experiences with being discriminated, so I was on the verge of tears. Like, it was really upsetting to be discriminated against at all.
I feel like it's something that won't change, or if it will take a lot more time. People are pretty understanding, but there's still subtle discrimination and subtle judgment.
I guess it could affect me directly because as an actor, the leading man they look for, I'm not a leading man, and I have to accept that, even though there can be a part that I really want. that I'm not the right body type for, and that's the field of work that I'm looking to get into. But it's still, you have to adapt.
I think it affects other people the same way it affects me. It can limit them in getting jobs. It can bring down your self-esteem because you feel like you're less of a person because you're being treated differently than someone else. So I think overall it makes someone feel less confident about themselves, and it hurts.
Discrimination keeps people from reaching their full potential because they're always afraid, or always just afraid of what other people are going to think of them.
Stereotyping, again, is such a huge part of our society that it's just like people see you and they assume that A, B, and C are true when in reality they're not. And you could sort of feel that. You could feel it just in the way people look at you.
I think a lot of people discriminate because they're ignorant, and they stereotype and they put people into these categories, and they don't look outside of a box, and they put people in these boxes because it's easier for them to look at because they're so ignorant to life and what else is out there. And I think it's just about a lack of knowledge for other cultures, other people, and other lifestyles.
I think we distance ourselves from what we fear, and we fear what we don't understand.
They're insecure about themselves. Everybody that's ever bullied somebody or made comments about somebody else, it's all based on self-insecurity, and they alienate the weaker, more different person to climb the social ladder for themselves so that their shortcomings are less obvious.
They want to, I guess, release the pain by hurting someone else because it makes them feel better.
Yes, discrimination still exists because it's pretty much embedded in our systems at this point. As human beings, when we see somebody who's different, we're immediately drawn to what makes them stand out as being different, and we almost automatically stereotype or discriminate against them in that sense just by labeling them by that. So I think it absolutely still exists.
Each and every person should try their hardest to get to know every other person, because discrimination is partially a lack of knowledge, and if we all can, get to know each other, then I think it'll be less seen in society.
If people could just look at somebody for being human and not assuming, especially not assuming they know who someone is, and actually just taking the chance to know somebody, that'd be just a great way to be a normal human being.
I just think people should be more aware about the effect of discrimination and how badly it hurts people, and realize that we're all human. We're all different races, we're different genders, but we're people, like I hurt the way that you hurt. So you should think about your actions and words before you do anything.